on in to the Between the Hashmarks podcast. As always, I'm Matt Lombardo, joined by my friend, my colleague, my mentor, the purveyor of the Two Deep Zone, and a brand new, for 1 month only, business partner, Mike Tanier joins us. As always, Mike, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Folks who are watching this catastrophe might notice I look a little bit sunburned. I got to escape for a couple of days to beautiful Exit Zero, Cape May, New Jersey, with the missus, a little bit of a break from the action here. And I'll tell you something, it was a lot of fun. You've been to Cape May, right?
Love Cape May. Love the Ugly Mug is a great place to grab a dinner with a nice pint. Love strolling that the mall, the outdoor shopping mall was in Washington Square, I think it's called. You take the
Yes.
horse and buggy ride and you look at all the haunted mansions. Big fan of Cape May. Love it down there.
Big fan of Cape May. Since you're giving shout outs and like endorsements here, you ever go to that little Italian specialty shop with the little sandwiches and cheese right there on the mall?
You're breaking new ground.
No,
I
you
don't think
have
I've ever seen it.
You have to go there. The life hack, and ladies and gentlemen, we do not make a lot of money here at Between the Hashmarks Zone. The life hack is you buy like your dinner there, and then you go to the liquor store and get a 6-pack, and
Oh,
then you hang out the deck in the pool, and you eat like a big old a big old Italian hoagie or a turkey on Swiss or just like crudité, and then you show up at the bar later, mostly loaded, so you spend less money. And that's how we do it. This is old guy hack, and it's delicious.
yes.
You have to check the place out. Also, the peanut butter cookie shop. You have to check that out.
Ooh.
Yes, yes. A block off of the square. But we stayed lovely hotel. This has to have happened to you. We stayed at the Inadequate Trash Cans Hotel. You got little ones. So,
Yes.
yeah. So we've done Super Bowls, and Super Bowls like you accumulate a lot of bric-a-brac and things like that, and they give you a trash can about the size of this Canada Dry soda can.
Yeah, I think that my trash can issues have come more from business travel when you're like ordering dinner into the room from time to time, and you can't even fit the sandwich box into. You have to break it down like an Amazon box going into your recycling bin outside just to fit it in the tiny trash can. And too many times I've just given up and left it outside the door so that the people cleaning the rooms they just pick it up the next day.
Right, but I hate leaving it outside, and you're exactly like me. We're at the combine, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we can't go out this particular night because I'm on a deadline. So you get 5 guys.
Yes.
We get 5 guys, and you've got this giant, gross, delicious but gross also hamburger. Well, it's gross when it's like been sitting there for a couple hours, and you
Yeah.
try to throw it away, and like it's actually bigger. You can actually put the trash can inside the box that the sandwich comes in. So fortunately, it was just the two of us. We made do. But man, folks, if you're out there, I got another complaint by the way.
Okay, let's hear it.
The shampoo, the conditioner, and the random third thing that are in every shower.
Is it the body wash? Is that what it is? Are you one of
Sure.
these guys who doesn't use body wash? You use the Irish Spring bar soap? Is that what you're used to? That you
I don't
can't handle you can't handle a vial of body wash in your shower?
I don't know what's what because you know what? I don't have my shower glasses.
Oh,
You know
damn it.
how fine the print is on those things? It's the fine print like on an iTunes agreement or on these things. So what I do is I basically click to all three and use all three of them for all three purposes.
A
So
disaster waiting to happen.
so maybe put a little sign on top of them, or
With an
just
arrow, three arrows. So which one is which? Pointed down.
arrows which one is which, so that I am not like moisturizing parts of my body that shouldn't get that treatment. Certainly not at this stage of my life.
For sure. Did we remember to pack the sunscreen because the mug is reminiscent of the color of the shirt that you're wearing at this very moment in time to the viewers, to those watching on YouTube, on Instagram Live, any of these places, on the Substack app. Mike is if you're not watching and you're only listening in the Apple Podcast Store or Spotify, Mike's got this like salmon colored red shirt on, and the face looks like it's just blending into the shirt.
Salmon colored red face. The answer to that question is no. We forgot, so we grabbed some. It was supposed to rain all weekend here in Greater Philly, and then the sun came out. But
Yeah.
then you have this beautiful sunshine, but it's also cool, and you forget you're not like sweaty and things like that. So, and I didn't wear the hat, so yeah, I'm a little pink right now. This was probably going to be my natural color until after Labor Day.
Gotta love it. Rookie mistake leaving the hat at home. But anyway, we digress. Little bit of housekeeping as always. If you enjoy Mike's coverage and the humor that comes with it and the deep dive analytics analysis of the NFL, be sure to subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. Follow Mike on Blue Sky. If you enjoy my insider reporting, features, in-depth analysis, source reporting, be sure to subscribe to Between the Hashmarks. And Mike, this month, you and I have a pretty special opportunity for subscribers going on.
Absolutely. This is phenomenal. And you and I are joining forces on this. And I'm guessing if you're listening, you're probably aware of this, but we're gonna pump it anyway. It is Pride Month. We have a Pride Month spectacular here where you can get both of our newsletters for the price of one.
Yes. So for the price of one annual paid subscription to either the Two Deep Zone or Between the Hash Marks, you'll also receive a 6-month complimentary free trial of premium content from the other. So if you subscribe to Mike Tanier's Two Deep Zone for a year, you get 6 months of Between the Hash Marks. If you decide to subscribe to Between the Hash Marks for 1 year, you get 6 months of complimentary free premium access to the Two Deep Zone. Everybody wins. And to
Yeah.
top it off, 20% of the proceeds automatically get donated to the Trevor Project, which is an outstanding organization that does real life saving work for our LGBTQ brothers and sisters out there in the world.
Yes, a top of the line charity. It raises awareness, does other things to help protect those marginalized communities. I've talked to some friends who are in those communities, some people I know, and it's got a absolutely stellar reputation within that community, doing the work that has to get done. The Trevor Project. Every couple days, we're going to be cutting a check based on how many subscribers we get, paid subscribers. If you're already a paid subscriber to either of us, thank you very much. This is for the newer subscribers, but we appreciate your support, and we're going to be finding ways to help in your name as well.
Absolutely. We've wanted to be teammates for as long as I've known you. We've been friends going back a decade to you, coming on my radio show in Philadelphia, traveling as road buddies at Super Bowls, now podcast hosts. It's nice to be quasi semi teammates with this partnership, with this deal, but more importantly, doing good work in the community.
Came on your show in Atlantic City.
You did. Wow, that was a long time ago.
That is a million years ago. You must have been like 16.
Yeah, probably about that. But yes, as we dive into this show, Mike, let's start here. I read the column on Monday morning going into Jayden Daniels, and there's this perception that Jayden Daniels and the Commanders are going to take a step back this year after an insurgent barnstorming run to the NFC Championship game a year ago. Daniels sets the rookie rushing record, completes 69% of his passes, 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Stellar rookie season for Jayden Daniels. The Commanders go out and fortify his supporting cast and his offensive line going into this year. I'd love to get your take because I'm not buying this sophomore slump narrative. And I talked to a couple of coaches inside the league. Ross Tucker was kind enough to check in. I spoke with Brian Mitchell. Just curious your thoughts on where Jayden Daniels and the Commanders go from here in 2025. And if you're in the camp that sees a little bit of a regression as a possibility.
I had somebody in the mailbag a couple weeks ago say, "I'm sick of Jayden Daniels getting all this love," and it's like, what do you want us to say? Of course, there's a chance of a regression. There is always a chance. 10%, 15, 20, whatever it is. If you don't have anything else to base it on except, well, there's a chance of regression, then don't talk about it. That's true of everybody. Everybody could get better, everybody could get worse. If you're looking at Daniel's overall body of work, and I think some of your people said this, there's no reason for pessimism in there. There's no like indicator that says this is a problem. It's just a matter of, well, sometimes guys slip up along the way or whatever. That's it. That's not useful. And that's not the kind of thing when you're doing really a serious analysis that you base things on.
Right. And I spoke to a rival quarterback coach who told me that they just need to keep doing what they're doing. And that if there is any sort of regression, it might be just a little bit of a speed bump for Jayden Daniels because of the talent, because of the supporting cast. And Brian Mitchell brought up two really great points. One, when you look at the Houston Texans, did CJ Stroud really take that step back a year ago? Or did Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs both get hurt? And they still won a playoff game, right? He might not have had the bombastic stats, but even without his top two receivers, they go and they win a playoff game. And then he said, quote, the Commanders went out, they brought in Debo Samuel, they drafted Josh Connerly in the first round at offensive tackle. They bring in Laramie Tunsil, which means doesn't have to be a superhero. He has more time to develop in the pocket because he reads defenses really well, makes quick decisions. So if he has more time and more weapons, they're already doing what they need to do to try to let him make that push, unquote. I'm kind of in that camp.
Yeah, and not only did C.J. Stroud lose Dell and Diggs sailed away, so to speak, but his offensive line was terrible. I had to get one of those in there.
Yes,
His offensive line was terrible, and you're right. You get a Commanders team doing some rebuild on the offensive line, or just adding some support, bringing in Debo, which makes it obvious somebody who can make things easier for the quarterback. I'll say this: I'm looking at the DVOA projections, and I'm not allowed to go into them in too much detail.
sure.
Um, but they don't see a regression. Not for the Commanders. I don't have the
Yeah,
specifics for Daniels, but if the Commanders aren't going to regress, Daniels probably isn't going to regress. But I am looking at the odds here for the NFC East, and I see the Eagles at, I lost them, minus 135, and the Commanders at plus 205 to win the NFC East. Now, I'm not telling an Eagles fan or a Giants fan, who are many of our listeners, to take the Commanders at plus 205, but I'm telling you what the projections would tell you to do based on the things that I've got from Aaron Schatz's DVOA research.
I'm going to go a step further. I don't think that the Commanders need to necessarily win that division to make a run. They did it last year. I know that Detroit was starting you and me and Doug Farrar on defense because 21 guys across the lineup wind up on injured reserve by season's end. But just the eye test, the numbers speak for themselves with Jayden Daniels. But the eye test, I look at what Jayden Daniels did as a rookie, and outside of Jalen Hurts in the NFC,
Mhm.
I don't know where Jayden Daniels falls below that. I think he was a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the conference. They go out, they bring in Debo, they bring in a couple of offensive linemen. You already have Terry McLaurin, second year in Cliff Kingsbury's system, which I think is completely invaluable in terms of his upside developing from here, continuity, and all those things. It just feels like the stage is set for a second year leap for Jayden Daniels rather than a second year regression.
Okay, and I see it too. They've done the work. They've done the work. Now I'll tell you this. Okay, I'm seeing Jayden Daniels at plus 750 for MVP. Are you willing to go that far?
I don't know that I can take that flyer. Not when you look at some of the other quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is always going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
Josh Allen and the Bills. Allen has more to work with. Obviously, the media darling in his own right. Lamar Jackson, great supporting cast that got a lot better by them bringing in DeAndre Hopkins this offseason. Jalen Hurts is going to be in the mix as the Eagles have the most talented and deepest roster in the sport. I don't know that Jayden Daniels cracks his way into the MVP conversation. We might talk about him as Offensive Player of the Year, though.
That's possible. Let me see if I can pull the odds up for that real quickly. I mean, I don't like the meat on the bone in terms of plus 750. You give me plus 1,500, plus 1,600. It's a fun bet to say,
Yeah.
well, I get more juice than if it's just another Allen versus Jackson versus Mahomes show. I did something a little different. Offensive Player of the Year, it's not looking good right now. I'm trying to find him. The problem is the awards voters tend to make that best non-quarterback nowadays.
Yes.
And right now, that is reflected in what I'm seeing in the odds. Saquon plus 650, Jamar Chase plus 950, Gibbs plus 950, Bijan plus 1,600. The quarterbacks are way down this list based on the logic of what they're doing there with that, the voters are doing with that particular award. How about this? You can get 4,000 plus passing yards.
Okay.
You can get, of course, I lost track of him,
I'll take that one. I don't care what the odds are. I'll take that one.
plus 290.
Yeah. Sign me up. Easy.
Yeah, he's going to throw more.
Yeah. Going to throw more. He's got Debo. Terry
Yeah,
McLaurin. Terry
a shovel.
McLaurin is there.
Yeah, shovel pass to Debo. That's passing yards. That's not rushing yards. So
Right.
you take that.
Zach Ertz is back. The veteran security valve at tight end who he's very confident in and comfortable with.
Yeah. So there are, and I see it. So I'm not going to say MVP. I think playoffs. The playoff odds were minus 160. So the Commanders getting into the playoffs and making a run. I think that's very possible. You can't bet on it right now.
Right.
Not in a good way because it's like minus 160. So maybe you take the division thing. But there are some wagers out there if you're a Daniels believer, and I would much rather take the wager that he's going to have a superlative season than to be out there and being a nervous Nelly and saying, well, he's going to regress because second year quarterbacks regress. And that's my reasoning behind that.
Yeah. Josh Allen didn't regress in his second season.
Well,
Right. I mean, what?
he was kind of bad though. He was kind of bad still then. Mahomes had the second season where he became a superstar and then was better in the third season. Everyone regresses except the guys who don't.
Yeah, and I just don't see Jayden Daniels in that mix. And last year, Mike, the Commanders were that surprise team to a lot of people. I mean, I'm going to toot my own horn here because I'm not one who's known to do that ever. You know, I don't take the victory laps, but I'm going to take the victory lap. You know, you and I were doing shows. We were on Aaron Schatz's show with you. We were on this show, and I said, look out for the Commanders. They'll ruin somebody's day. They're talented. Jayden Daniels is there. They're in the mix. They were a sleeper team a year ago. I thought it'd be kind of fun going into the month of June just beginning. We got training camps ramping up next month to kind of identify the three sleeper teams that can make some noise this year to see if history could repeat itself, or you can hop on the bandwagon as finding a sleeper that could make a run.
Absolutely. Should I start?
Yeah, let's start with you. Let's hear your first one.
This is my weakest one. I'm basing this a little bit on the projections here. Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, Ashton Genty.
Ashton Genty, Geno Smith. Now I'm worried because every rank and file non-Max Crosby defender is gone. But I'm looking at the projections a little bit. I'm looking at the strength of schedule, which is not that great. I don't see. Obviously, they're not challenging the Chiefs. But if you start looking at win over unders, and you say you can get this team at about 7.5, somewhere in there, they're going to win 8 games. They're going to run the ball well. They're going to be more professional on offense. They still got Max Crosby, who kind of is a game changer, and I think that they're going to be their front four is going to be an equalizer to a degree, and that's the team I could say if you're looking at over unders. If you want to do a wild card play on them, that's a possibility.
I like the pick, and I like the fact that you have a run-based offense with Chip Kelly, who you remember what he did with LaShawn McCoy when he was the Eagles head coach. You look at the offenses he's had at Oregon and at Ohio State, and the running backs that they've turned out and the success that they've had. Pete Carroll is going to make sure that defense is better and they're up and running. And I love Ashton Genty. I think he's going to be the Saquon Barkley of this rookie class, having that kind of a rookie year, that kind of an impact. I'm going to stay in the division. And I'm going to take this sleeper moniker maybe a step further. And not just like that come out of nowhere sleeper team, but
Uh-huh.
kind of the team that I'm feeling a little bit commandersy about. A team
Okay.
that I think could wreck the Chiefs' day, maybe end this dynasty in the AFC West once and for all, maybe play their way into a Super Bowl conversation in the AFC if things go their way. That's the Denver Broncos. Because
Oh.
Bo Nix got better and better and better as the season went along as a rookie last year. They bring in RJ Harvey, who's an explosive, bruising combo of a running back. You have the best defense in football potentially. I mean, look, Patrick Surtain was Defensive Player of the Year, just a complete blanket on one side of the field. And you bring in Jade Barron in the first round. Mike, he held opposing quarterbacks to a 37.6 passer rating at Texas. Where are you
Yeah.
throwing to? If you're erasing both sides of the field on the perimeter, where are you throwing to as an offense? So you got an elite defense, some playmakers on offense, a potential franchise quarterback in waiting. I like the Denver Broncos as a big time sleeper to make a big time run.
You are all in on the Broncos.
All in.
You have been
All
very
in.
on it. Now, my concern with the Broncos and the projection on them is fine. It looks like a similar season. That's the kind of projection we're seeing. And then I'm trying to go to these over unders. So over 9.5, you would go.
Over. Pound it. I'd pound the over.
You're
Where
gonna go
where can
over
I
the
sign up? Give me a promo code somewhere to throw $50 on a Broncos over.
and that's good. You're only getting minus 105 on that. So
Yeah.
you're kind of on the number. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but their sleeper potential isn't too sleepery right now
No.
because a lot of people are looking at them for to have that 9-10 win season.
Let's go with your second squad. Who you got next?
It's going to take me a minute to find them. Oh, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Whoa. Whoa. Wow. Okay, I did ask for sleepers. That's a slumbering, hibernating grizzly bear of a sleeper right there.
A slumbering, hibernating grizzly bear. Let me pull up my notes real quick. With the third easiest schedule in the NFL. Okay.
Yeah.
With with a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, starting with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, probably healthier. With the little blip you get when you get rid of the Press Taylor, Doug Peterson practice experience, as in practice is canceled because we're going to go out for ice cream. And so you have a smattering of talent, but this is really a schedule assisted one, and it's definitely one that's assisted by the projections at DVOA. And it comes into, and give me a second, you hear me vamping. You can get
Yes.
over 9.5 at plus 225.
That's a nice payoff.
That's a
That's a
nice
nice
payoff for this
payoff.
team. So yeah, you got now 10 wins might be a bit much. I'm trying to pull off the division title here and to win the division. AFC South, you can get them at plus 260. So what you're all you're looking at there is a Texans drop off based on the fact that their offensive line, which was horrible last year, is still horrible.
Yes. Probably
Okay.
got worse.
Probably got worse. Somehow got worse because they didn't draft anybody and they actually let guys go. And you know that the Titans are not going to be there. The Colts are in the Daniel Jones experience right now. And you've got this Jaguars team has an established quarterback, has some established players on defense, could get a little bump from Lee and Cohen, who I think brings some fresher ideas to the table. That's my second sleeper.
All right, I'm gonna call an audible here because I had another team at number two,
Okay.
but I'm gonna go deeper sleeper. You've inspired me with your Jaguars pick.
Mm-hmm.
How about the Fighting Arizona Cardinals, led by Jonathan Gannon
Ooh,
in the NFC West, a
okay.
division that I think is a lot wider open than a lot of people anticipate? I'm not buying in on Cooper Cup being a difference maker in Seattle. I do think that the attrition is really catching up to the San Francisco 49ers. I think there are very real durability concerns with Christian McCaffrey. And you look at what they did in Arizona. They
Yeah.
have their defensive minded head coach, and they decided, you know what? In the span of one offseason, let's go build a defense.
Yeah.
Let's bring in Josh Sweat, who had his most productive season of his career with Jonathan Gannon as the defensive coordinator. Let's take Walter Nolan in the first round to provide some interior pass rush. You want to talk about sleepers? Maybe the biggest sleeper in terms of value on the first 2 days of the NFL draft. Will Johnson falls into their lap in the second round because of some bizarre phantom knee injury thing that I'm told was a concern 2.5 years ago, but no longer a pressing issue. You bring
Yeah.
in Jordan Birch as a high value edge play, Cody Simon in round four, Denzel Burke, another corner. They loaded up on defense. Marvin Harrison Jr., if the timing is that bad with Kyler Murray again, then maybe we just need to put them in a room and let them play Xbox rather than send them out on the field to practice together. He's going to be
Spot.
better in his second season. It just feels like there's momentum there for the Cardinals to be a team where we look up in December or January and say, where the hell did they come from?
I don't think anybody plays Xbox anymore.
PlayStation 5, PS5?
Yes, PS5 would be a good one. We have the Twitch 2 is coming out soon. The Nintendo Twitch 2. So, whatever. But you're right. They whatever the state of the art video game system is, Kyler Murray has it. We know that.
Yes.
And he can have Marvin Harrison come over and play it. And they do need to get that chemistry. The projection system does like the Cardinals to be in that mix, in that hunt. I'll give you a prop here that I would be interested in. Make the playoffs at plus 130.
Yeah, I can feel it. I mean, I don't think there's a path to a wild card because I think the NFC East is too deep. You can make an argument for two, maybe three teams making it out of the NFC East. The NFC North might still be the best division in football. I think there's three legitimate playoff teams in the NFC North. NFC South is going to send a champion because those are the rules. You have to have representation out of a division. But I think the NFC West, if they win the division, I think that they can get it. And I think that they have a defense that's capable of making that kind of run. Plus, I love the tight end. Tight end's a playmaker.
You like Trey McBride. I do like the defense. I like Kyler Murray. So I like him. I don't love him. I like Marvin Harrison. No, I see the move. By the way, I'm turning into a Buccaneers truther. I'm wearing Buccaneers colors right now. I wrote about the Buccaneers last week. I think that team has a raw. They're not a sleeper because they're going to win the division, but give them some credit. Give the Buccaneers some credit.
Riley Dixon flips the field a little bit for them, maybe helps them out in that regard as a punter. I don't think I've ever read ten thousand
Hall of
words.
Famers on the team. They have two Hall of Famers. Levante David and Mike Evans are Hall of Famers on this team right now.
I don't know that I've ever read 10,000 words on punting and been more enthralled, but that's what you get with the Two Deep Zone. So go subscribe to the Two Deep Zone, go subscribe to Between the Hash Marks, one or the other, and you get 6 months to a year of Tanier writing about punters, which was just tremendous.
Folks, every time somebody mentions the Buccaneers article, the word count increases. Somebody on Blue Sky was like, I never thought I'd read 5,000 words on the Buccaneers punters. And I was like, it was 2,000. Now it's up to 10,000. It was 2,000. I get it that the word count feels bigger when you're reading about Buccaneers punters, but think of it as a delicious hoagie that like gets larger as you eat it. Okay. That's the service I provide here. Um, what
I think more of the vacation that you look back on it more fondly the
yes.
further away you get from it. And nobody has ever done such a deep dive on punting or punters. So it becomes memorable. It becomes a tentpole. I bet we're going to look up in a few months, and it's going to be one of your most read features on the site.
It will. It'll probably have legs. People move. It's like that endless summer as a child, where you feel like summer lasted forever, and every day was at the pool or the beach.
Yes,
That's what my article on punters is like: an endless childhood summer at the pool. I got to give you another sleeper, don't I?
you do. Do you
Okay,
have one? Do you have a
yeah,
third?
not really a sleeper. It's a team you were just down on a little bit. The San Francisco 49ers. I get what everyone's saying. Everyone gets what everyone's saying. We can all see it. Projection system is G Gonzo. Oh my God, all in on the San Francisco 49ers, who had a historic number of injuries last year. Did not lose as much as we thought they were going to lose during the offseason, and are bringing back not just McCaffrey, who, again, I say it too, he's almost 30. Guys like Kittle, several guys, defense, offensive line, everywhere that were injured last year. Plus, they brought in and drafted an entirely new defense as well. The system is absolutely jumping up and down about a rebound for the 49ers.
Coming from you, the projections must be pretty solid. If you are all in on the
Yes.
49ers, I'm stunned.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's like it's sometimes I'll look at the projection and it's like, well, this is kind of borderline. This is not a borderline projection. This is a projection to win the division and be one of the stronger teams in the NFL.
So you just had your Dennis Green moment a few minutes ago with the Buccaneers. If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. You're already crowning them as the NFC South champions.
Yes.
Not so fast, my friend.
Oh no, if you're going to do the
Oh,
Panthers, I'm going to smother you in your
no, no. To the great disappointment of my daughter, who somehow became a Panthers fan because of Sir Purr. Look out for the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, I'm just saying. You have Raheem Morris, and they decided this offseason that they're going to buy a Ferrari and put it in his driveway and say, "Go drive the defense." You bring in two of the top edge rushers in this class. You look at the talent they have on the back end of that defense. I know that the Buccaneers are probably the most complete and balanced team in the NFC South, but I don't know what that says about the hierarchy of the rest of the NFC. And Michael Penix last year, I thought when what we saw of him, some of the throws and big time moments took Jayden Daniels and the Commanders to the brink in a game that the Falcons really had no business even being all that competitive in. I think he'll be better in his second season in the same scheme. I think that Bijan Robinson is probably a top 8 to 10 running back in the NFL, maybe better than that. Drake London, really underrated. Kyle Pitts we'll get to. I'm not sure what to make of Kyle Pitts, but if you have a defense that's as swarming as the Falcons have the chance to be, go and win 2 games against the Panthers. Go and win 2 games against the Saints. Split with the Buccaneers, and all of a sudden, you're talking about maybe a hat and T-shirt in Atlanta.
Falcons suck, and betting on them is like setting your money on fire.
How much did you lose on them last September? Because I remember the headline the one morning, the Monday morning of walkthrough. Don't bet on the Panthers,
The Falcons, yeah, the Falcons.
Falcons.
I mean, I haven't lost money on them on years because I stopped. I did. I actually bet on them once last year, thinking I think I feel this. They are heartbreakers. They are life wreckers. I don't see it. And I'll say this about the defense is the defense. I'll say this about Penix: 100 dropbacks last year. So we're looking off 100 dropbacks. A lot of the enthusiasm of Penix was a couple of third and fourth down throws in one, I believe it was Sunday night game. If you look at his overall record, it was basic rookie quarterback stuff. And then he had a couple of massive throws in an important game. I think it was a Sunday nighter. And that's what so much of this is built on right now. If he goes out there and is your basic rookie quarterback, I mean, so your basic second year quarterback, not Stroud and not Daniels, but some guy who just goes out there, he's not as good as Cousins in that
Yeah.
circumstance. If you're not as good as Cousins, then we're going back to, well, I don't know who their playmakers are besides Bijan. Drake London is okay. The other guys are not very good. We have these two rookie edge rushers. That's great. This is a team that finished in the bottom 5 in sacks every year since the Super Bowl in 2016. There has so much building to do that you're right. Like the entire um, mentality behind the Falcons being good is maybe they go 5-1 in the division, and they can. They could go 5-1 in the division and still wind up being an 8-9 team because that's kind of how they often do things. So last year they swept the Buccaneers last year.
Go look at Tampa's schedule. Go look at the
Tampa's schedule's
landmines
tough.
on that schedule. Buffalo,
Yes.
Detroit, Philadelphia. I think Denver is in that mix. And I still went on the Bucks Report podcast last week, and one of the co-hosts said they're going to win 14 games, and I'm like, how? I mean, I can count four losses from memory just from the teams that I saw on the schedule.
Except
I
that the
like
Buccaneers
Tampa.
last year, the Buccaneers beat the Eagles. Last year, the Buccaneers beat the Lions. Last year,
Yeah,
the Buccaneers went to overtime against the Chiefs. Now I know the Eagles had everyone injured, uh,
yeah.
but they tend to play with these teams. It is a trickier schedule. You know who has the easiest schedule, right? Coming up this year, according to the projection system, DVOA projection system, it is the San Francisco 49ers.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm
There
pulling
you go.
up right now. The Falcons are certainly among anytime you're playing the Saints twice and the Panthers twice, you're at the bottom of the schedules. But the 49ers start out Seahawks, Saints, Cardinals, Jaguars. I see the Giants. I see the Panthers. I see the Browns. I see the Titans. 49ers have some wins on the schedule.
Somehow the Giants have like the toughest schedule in football. They might be in one home game. They might go 1-8 at home.
Oh my God. I haven't looked at that, but that's just pathetic. Well, you get to eat.
Go pour yourself a Chimay and then pour one out for the Giants schedule because it is murderer's row for a team that was picking third overall last year.
I'm trying to find where Dable will get fired. Yeah, Commanders at Cowboys, two road games to start. So that's
Yeah,
like FU. Oh, here's the Chiefs at home.
yeah.
I think that's a Sunday nighter. Oh my God,
Oh God.
he'll be fired after week 8 when the Eagles sweep him.
Yeah,
He'll drive.
that'll be enough for John Mara.
That'll be
Losing twice to Philly after an 0-3 start,
yeah,
suboptimal.
yes. That'll be it. Mara in like week 3 or 4 says we're not making any changes. We're patient. We're going to give this, and then 3 weeks later he's going to fire him.
Yeah. So we mentioned the Falcons as one of my sleeper teams. What do you make of Kyle Pitts' bizarre spring? Because the Falcons came out this week, and I had this scorching hot take in the column and some great quotes from people inside the league, a top executive in a front office, one of the top agents when it comes to the tight end market in the NFL. And they come out and they announce on Monday, I'm
Mhm.
all fire and brimstone. There's a TikTok that's buried in the vault that will never be seen because I'm out for a walk yesterday afternoon around the neighborhood and you get the alert that Kyle Pitts is dealing with an undisclosed injury according to the Falcons. And that's why he's not participating in voluntary OTAs or the offseason program. But he's in the final year of his deal. The assumption was going into Monday's announcement that he was looking for a long-term extension. Just curious, your thoughts on Pitts, his value. What is going on here?
A long-term extension for Kyle Pitts. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
No,
We're we're going to rip up everything, and we're going to hand you George Kittle's contract, or I don't know who the highest paid tight end is right now. We're going to give you Kelsey money for not being able to block, for not just dropping touchdown passes, but shot putting them to defenders in critical games late in the season. Okay.
yeah.
My thought on this is it sounds to me like yes, you're quote unquote injured. Let's see if we can work a trade out. Let's see if we can get anything. But these are the Falcons. They can't work a trade out for Kirk Cousins.
Right. And they're going to eat $50 million or whatever it is against the cap this year because they're keeping Kirk Cousins. How are you going to deal Kyle Pitts?
Right, like Cousins, you can at least go out there and it's like, oh, the Steelers will get, they'll trade us a third round pick or something like that. Nope, couldn't make that work. Hey, would you like a tight end who's basically a pumped up slot receiver who doesn't really block and has complete brain cramps? Would you like this guy? Oh, by the way, it's a sign and trade. It's a sign and trade
Yeah.
because he expects a long extension. This is the kind of guy who normally in a trade in this point in his career is, do you want the last year of the rookie contract? Would you like that? And then you can decide at the end of the year, or you get him on that like prove it year. They extended this 5th year option. Fine. So there's this big expensive year for Pitts coming down the road here. It's it's pure Falcons. It's pure Falcons. That's all.
Keep in mind, this agent has a decade of experience and represents some of the top tight ends in the league. Told me, quote, he looks like he doesn't care. He's a tremendous athlete, but a below average tight end. If he doesn't win with athleticism, he's not a very good route runner who can get open at the top of his routes. He
Mhm.
brings next to nothing to the run game. There is a group of general managers in this league who will always give a former first round pick a second chance. So he'll probably do better on this next deal than he should based on his play, but I'd maybe look for $4 million with upside. You can't count on him to be your starter, so you can't pay him like one, unquote. That about matches the brimstone that I had for questioning Pitts' decision to skip OTAs with a track record of one Pro Bowl and a
Yeah.
career high 4 touchdowns that has gotten better every year. Four.
Four. And the Pro Bowl was a couple of years ago. He had a lot of
Rookie year.
rookie year. That's right. When they saw Matt Ryan, am I
Yes.
okay? Oh, God, that hits it on the head. But look at what he's making with the 5th-year option right now. He was the 6th overall pick. He's
Yeah.
making way too much money, and nobody's going to trade for that. Because you're right, everyone is going to look at this and say, "Well, when he is released, which will probably not be till next year, then we can pick him up for 1 year, 4 million plus incentives, see what's going on, seeing if he has maybe Evan Ingram's second half of his career, where he sort of puts himself together a little bit, figures out who he is, has a couple good years for the Jaguars. Now he's with your Denver Broncos. Maybe Pitts has that second career. It's not going to happen the way things are currently going right now. And this is their starting tight end. It's not
Yeah.
kind of like
Every year we think, oh, Kyle Pitts, he's going to break out. Oh, they have Bijan Robinson and they have Kyle Pitts. Oh, they have Drake London and Darnell Mooney. Oh, and they have
yes,
Kyle Pitts. He's going to function with all the space it's created. It didn't happen. Do you think this executive is going to be the one that takes the flyer on Kyle Pitts? Quote,
that's it.
he's underachieved. That may be partly the Falcons' fault because his usage has been sporadic, but he doesn't value as a top 10 tight end to me at all. Just my opinion, unquote.
His usage has been sporadic because he can't block.
Right.
And like the other guy said, the routes are kind of what the routes are. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he doesn't. And he drops passes and he does
Yes.
brain cramps. And it's unclear how. I've never heard locker room leader, A+ locker room guy. Let's put it that way. I've never heard anything like that. It's a weird situation. It's very Falcons. It is very Falcons that they are sitting there with money in their backup quarterback and money in their tight end, who is, again, like you said, he's supposed to be like the third option in their passing game. And this is a team that wants to run the ball, Bijan and Algiers a lot, and he's not the guy. Are we going to start the year with him on the bench
On the bench or elsewhere, I would think.
or on
Right?
the?
I mean, if a team offers up a fourth or a fifth round pick, if you're the Falcons and you don't plan on marrying them long term, why not?
No one's going to offer on that deal. No one's going to offer on this deal as structured, and no
Yeah.
one's going to do it if it's a sign and trade, and they don't want to sign him.
Yeah. Just a very bizarre offseason. We'll see what this injury winds up being. But if he's not at mandatory minicamp, maybe we'll open up the vault. Springsteen's releasing a 9 CD box set of outtakes in a month. Maybe we'll release the TikTok. We'll take the TikTok out of the vault if he holds out from mandatory camp.
I'm trying to picture a Springsteen song about Kyle Pitts. I can't. I'm not going to offer an example right now. You know what team, what organization this never happens to? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because when they get a guy signed, they get a guy signed. Okay.
Yeah.
They never have this kind of problem. And that's why they are going to win the NFC South again.
And I love Jason Licht what they've done. This whole mentality of drafting well and signing them early and then signing them again to keep the band together
Yes.
before it gets to be too late. I give them a lot of credit for that. It's an organizational philosophy, a core value, and that's why they win the division every single year.
Yes.
Speaking of winning the division every single year, there was a run of years from like the late 80s to the late 90s where the Dallas Cowboys just steamrolled everybody. And we're recording this on June 3rd, and you've kicked off this tremendous, awesome, fun series of the top signature moments for every franchise. Great idea.
Your
And you
idea.
wound up. Oh, right. Great idea.
I wrote it in there. Your idea. I
I
said it.
know.
I
I love
said it. You're out here fishing. You're out here fishing for I need to verify here that this idea was a wonderful idea. Fishing for compliments. I gave you credit. It was your idea.
It was fun. It was fun to read. But you look at I love leading off with the Cowboys, and I do love that Larry Brown was one of the signature moments with that interception to seal it, and the context that you put around it.
And it was tricky because when you start doing the signature moments, I was like, well, you're like that 1990 to 95 Cowboys team. Okay. And you want to celebrate their awesomeness. And what do you pick? And you start looking at their great plays. And a lot of their great plays was, well, it's 21-0 in the first quarter, and we're destroying you. Okay. And yeah, Irvin had a great touchdown, and Emmett had a great touchdown, or whatever. But is that signature? And like the signature moment for the Cowboys from 1992 to 1995, besides like their little pratfalls along the way, was them
Yeah.
just destroying everything in their path. There wasn't a moment. But I think the Larry Brown moment was Larry Brown's interceptions were an encapsulation of what that team was. Yeah, that was the end of the road. They're not great after that. But, when you start looking at this moment, and that's the question I'm going to ask during this, what does it mean? It means that this was a team and an era that wasn't just Aikman, Irvin, Sanders, Emmett, that this was a team with secondary, tertiary stars that went out there and beat you, beat you, beat you. And that's one of the things I talked about there. And yeah, we're going to do in the series, we're going to do good moments and bad because we're going to try and typify the history. So
Nice.
yeah. So like, there's going to be a bad moment in Eagles history. There's going to be a bad moment or two in Washington's history. The Browns' history may be more bad moments than good, but
The
the
drive has to be the signature moment, right? Either the drive or drafting Tim Couch, one or the other.
yeah, I want to find something super positive, maybe with Jim Brown involved
Okay.
for the Browns. But obviously, yeah, you've got the drive, you got Ernest Bonner's fumble, you
You
got
got the tearing up the bleachers at Cleveland Stadium, Municipal Stadium, or whatever the hell it was called.
you had that. I'm trying to remember that game Brian Sipe had where they made a mistake at the end, like in 1982. There's so many of those things. I don't want
The
it to.
Deshaun Watson contract.
That might be on there.
It has to be,
Yeah,
right?
it might be on there because again, we want to do defining things. We talked. The Giants is on its way. We picked a Giants moment. And what I want to do is sometimes maybe pick a moment like next to the big moment. So it's like we can talk about this thing everyone remembers in a different way. Like maybe we talk about Deshaun's injury or like one of the press conference or some goofy thing like that. But that's the goal, is to hopefully 3,000 words or 10,000 if you think it's running a little long. Talk about this team's history in a way that like signifies everything that they've done over the course of perhaps decades.
Yeah, the Cowboys just obliterated the hopes and dreams of all of Buffalo for an entire decade. I mean,
Yes.
they're just now recovering and hoping that they can jump through the proverbial table into a championship with Josh Allen. But all that started with the one of the most talented rosters in history never getting past Dallas,
Yeah,
and that
and
defined that era.
usually I start with the AFC
Hmm.
East, but I start with the NFC East because I looked at the Bills' history. I'm like, oh God, am I going to be writing
Yeah,
about five missed field goals in championship games or three along the way? I wanted to breathe a little bit. Cowboys were simpler. It's like, well, here's something great. Here's something great. Here's one funny, goofy moment to reflect the fact that like the modern Cowboys are a mess, and then go. So I'm excited about it. I'm glad you gave me the idea for this. And full steam ahead. The Giants are already half written.
I'm pumped up. I can't wait to read the Giants. I do give you a lot of. I compliment your restraint for not including the Thanksgiving game with Reggie White and Jerome Brown and Seth Joyner chomping on the turkey legs in Dallas. What was it? 1991. They sacked Frankman like 11 times or whatever, something equally ridiculous. I do applaud your restraint from including that moment.
A fun one could be like rivalry moments. And if you do Eagles Cowboys, and if you do the Eagles side of it, there's that one. There's 4th and 1 again, where Barry
Yeah,
Switzer kept running the ball the same play over and over again. I think Sean McDermott learned a lesson from that one and did the exact same thing. Let's run the same fourth down play over and over again. There was an interception return by I can
Troy
let
Vincent and Willis.
oh, yeah. I always tell the story. It was Wilson Vincent. It was a lateral.
Yes.
And me and my buddy, his girlfriend had just served us bowls of chili, and we're both in this sort of low key miserable mood because they don't think the Eagles are going to win this game, and we're like sipping at it. That interception happened. That chili went everywhere. We were like,
It's probably
ah!
still in the carpeting.
It is still in the carpeting at an apartment over somewhere in Haddon Township. I think they just ripped the carpet out in 1997 or whenever when we left. But yeah, plays like that would be in there. Of course, Cowboys fans can make a list of plays where they just made the Eagles look like fools. Pretty long list, especially if you use those 92 to 95 seasons or the entire 1970s.
Right, Wilbur Montgomery on the Eagles side as well. That would probably be
Yes.
the signature moment. I am excited for the Leon Let gaffs. I'm sure that they're going to make appearances. But
Yes.
Mike, what do we have coming up on the two deep zone in the next couple weeks here?
Well, we will see the Giants. We will see the Eagles. I will get to those. I am writing some things based on my research for the FTN Almanac, which you can pre-order now. Look around, go to FTN.com. You'll see the link for it. 8 chapters by me. Aaron Schatz, of course, running the whole thing. A lot of your favorite writers. Brian Knowles is writing a bunch of chapters. But as I do all this research, there's leftovers. The Buccaneers punter thing was leftovers, folks. I have a thing about the Carolina Panthers coming up, about their penalty habits of some of their star players. That's going to be going up there. So these are very deep dives on specific teams to get you through this time of year, which can be a lot of best shape of his life quotes from camp. And we're going to be interspersing that with the moments from NFL history. And of course, if you subscribe to me, you also subscribe to Matt, and you donate to the Trevor Project. What do you have coming up?
We're going to continue our grading the offseason series. Today we had your fighting Justin Herbert's garnering a solid B for
Yes.
surrounding him with some explosive running backs, and Mekhi Becton, who might elevate Justin Herbert, maybe in the way that I thought he was going to be elevated walking into that playoff game in Houston last year. It's hard not to get fooled again, so I'm not going to get fooled again. I'm going to be healthily skeptical. We in our excitement to laud the Chargers, we skipped over the Green Bay Packers because we're going in order of the NFL draft. We'll make it up to the Cheeseheads this week with the Packers, and we're going to have the mailbag on Friday where I take readers' questions and pose them to sources around the league to get the answers from the people, the decision makers, and the power brokers inside the NFL each and every Friday in the Football Friday mailbag.
I was worried that you're like waiting for the Packers to wait if like Alexander news actually happens. It seems like that team has spent the last three off seasons wondering where their cornerback is, and that's still happening as we speak. You can't.
Yes, and Nate Hobbs isn't going to be the band-aid that fixes losing J.R. Alexander if that comes to pass.
We're going to move Nate Hobbs outside. Gee, if only the Raiders had thought of that. They did. It didn't work. Spoiler. And I'll say this about the Chargers. Harbaugh's harbaughing.
Yes.
You know what's going to solve the problems with our incredibly talented quarterback not turning the quarter? More interior linemen, more running the ball. That's what's going to solve the problem. Very Harbaugh.
See what happens there. He's Mike Tanier. Subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. And for this month, if you subscribe on an annual subscription, you get 6 months of complimentary access to Between the Hashmarks. Follow him on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier. You can follow me on Threads or on Blue Sky at Matt Lombardo NFL. And same deal. If you subscribe to Between the Hashmarks for a year, you get 6 months of complimentary access to the Two Deep Zone. And we'll be making a donation to the Trevor Project in honor of Pride and the great work that they do for the LGBTQ community. Mike, this has been a lot of fun. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Check out my YouTube channel at Matt Lombardo 975. And if you leave that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we truly appreciate it. It helps grow the show. And we'll read them on the air as you write them. So if you love the show, talk us up. Build up our egos because we do appreciate that. But if you don't and you want to rip us, take a blowtorch to us if you want, and we'll read it on the air anyway.
Absolutely. And all I have to say at the end of this is go Bucks.